In
about
progress.
the different roles of private sector, public sector, and the civil society. And therefore, as I said, the public sector will need to do what it needs to be done. It has its own responsibility. The private sector will do what it is good at doing, which is taking risks. The public sector is doing what is good at, which is rule-based. And the civil society is doing what is good at, which is the right pace. So I do hope that each sector would play its own role to ensure that whatever happens would not hurt many people. The question is, coming back to our topic, the middle way is what we are looking for. How can we avoid the extreme? How can we ensure that there is less suffering? The question then becomes, what is the choice that you have to make to minimize the suffering and to maximize the well-being? So the question is, I know it's a philosophical answer because there is no practical answer because, policymakers, I'm sure, know better than I do. They will make up their own decision. But for me, all I can say is that, we understand that there are different forces at work, the market forces, the intervention forces, all would have to find quickly what is the right way forward. And I think this would determine, where that we get a more stable situation. So the question is, I cannot give a definitive answer this way or the other way. Everyone would have to make their own decision. The private sector would have to make their own decision. The public sector would have to make their own decision. And the civil society also would have to play its own role. That is all I can say at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. If nobody, may I ask one more?
Please. Yes, go on.
Something I just browsed about the Growth National Happiness Index, and Bhutan is a very model and very high. And in the past, a few years ago, I couldn't find for Myanmar, but now I found it in 2021. The GNH is Myanmar is 4.39 points. So they said that average is 5.57. But Myanmar is 4.39, so I feel a little bit of doubt because the data is in 2021 and after the military coup. And now we have so many chaotic things. And how do they determine or they try to measure the happiness index to get it 4.39? I'm not sure which department is doing this one also in Myanmar. Thank you, Sarah.
I think this is by think of the different statistics that we use, like GDP, GNP, GNH. All this is based on data. So where do we get the data? Who provides the information? How valid is the information? How solid is the evidence? These are the questions. So we need to go beyond the numbers. We need to go beyond just 4 point something. We need to see, as you rightly pointed out, who provides the information, who collects the information, from where do they collect the information. There are many, many questions surrounding any index, even gross national happiness. So in most reports, you would see not just the numbers, but the reporting information. What is the survey done? What is the percentage which is included in the GNH surveys? Who responds? Who collects? And I think you are right to point out that it is not enough just look at a number and come to a conclusion. We need to go beyond and behind the numbers. Because to make any estimate of gross national happiness, which is a very subjective term, how do you determine whether you are happy or not? It depends on each individual. For the same issue, you can be unhappy at one time and you can be happy at the next time. So depending on when you are asked, if I ask you, Uzi and Mana, are you happy? Then if I ask the same question in 30 minutes time, I will not get the same answer because it depends on when you respond. So the question is, unless we know where the information was collected, who collects the information, who responds the information, all these numbers that you mentioned are only broad indications. So if you really want to know more, you have to go back to the source. So I think what is very important in your question is the source of information. Who provides, who collects, how it is collected, how frequently it is collected, what time of the day it is collected, who is it collected with the women or the monks or the laymen or the teachers, whatever. So the question is, unless we know more about the data collection process, the data reporting process, we cannot say very adequately what it really means. We can only get a very, very broad indication of the level of happiness. Thank you.
Okay. And regarding the Savadaya, the Sri Lanka projects, they have the 10 items. So like the sanitary is very important in Myanmar, especially when we travel, people still use the outdoor, even though the gas station have the toilet, they don't go there. But one thing I would like to point out is something lacking in the Myanmar society is the ethical responsibility, because like the UN sub project, and they want to build the sanitary, the toilet for the rural area. So it's about the budget, it's about 350 toilets. And the one who writes the proposal have to pay for 40% of the money, the grant. So they actually build the sanitary, it's only 150. But they show it, they cheat, they lie, the 300. So when after they finish the project, the authorities come and check. They cannot go and check all 300 sanitary. They just check in the certain area, about 2 or 3 areas. They just check it. So this is something. It's cheating. The foreign grants. Who write the proposal get the 40% amount of that donation grant. So I was witness, because I was even asked to write. I said that I'm not doing, because someone is cheating, they have to pay 40%. So instead of the writing the proposal 40%, can you do it? So I said that I cannot do, because I don't want to blown away from the corrupted people. I have my decent job as a academia. I will not do this, the project. So I refuse it. So this is actually what is happening in our country, So this is something lack of the ethical responsibility to build a sanitary toilet. So that this kind of things, how could we mend how could we mend the patches of the social, the distortion. So this is, we cannot do it alone. So how could it be, helping hands for our country? This is, I often ask myself, what happened to our environment and society?
I'm surprised you mentioned this, but normally any sort of donor that provides support, they have their own rules and procedures, which are very strict. And the example you give to me is very sad, that if any person that writes a proposal will get 40% of the budget. So this is something which should not be accepted. So the question is, here I go back to the topic of Buddhist economics. It is your personal integrity. What each of us would have to make a choice. You made a choice yourself that you will not do it. You feel that it is not correct. that you do not want the 40%. You would refuse to do it. But unfortunately, there are many people in our society who are willing to do this. So the question is, each of us would need to take personal accountability and responsibility. I thank you for saying that I will not do it. But let us remind ourselves that every one of us would need to take our responsibility. We need to exercise this, that we will not stoop to all these unethical practices. This is the issue, this is a decision that we have to make. This is a choice we have to make. I cannot judge. Now here comes the middle way. We are not here to judge others. We are only here to question ourselves. In this case, I will not do it. But I understand that others are doing it. They are doing it, and it is their problem, not mine. I, myself, will be responsible for my action. So the middle way is focusing on yourself, making sure that you are immune for all these temptations. Because some people cannot refuse the temptations, but it is their life, the choice they have made, and they would have to pay the price for making that kind of choice. So I do hope that each of us would look into ourselves and say, what will I do in these circumstances? Which means that I have no right to tell others what to do. All I can say is, I will not do it. This means, this is why we are talking about enlightenment, that the decision we make is based on ourselves. I keep repeating, non-judgmental. Buddhism does not judge someone as being right or someone as being wrong. Buddhism is not blaming others. If there's any blame, to me, my understanding, you blame yourself. You try to improve yourself. You try to look into yourself. You try to improve your self-awareness. But hopefully, the middle way means that if you become an example of a person of integrity, then the other people will look up to you and they will make their own choice. And hopefully, this time, by giving an example for them, you would help them make a better choice. This is all I can say. This is something I believe truly. I cannot change others. I can change myself. As Buddhists, this is our goal. It is very easy to want to change the world, but it is very difficult to change yourself. So for me, Buddhist way starts with changing yourself, being kind to yourself. This is also very important. We talk about kindness to others, but are we kind to ourselves? We talk about compassion to others. Do we exercise self-compassion? I think this is important. And as we go through our lives, beyond this training, beyond these courses, let us exercise the Buddhist middle way. And I truly believe in the ethos of non-judgment. We are not here to judge whether it is right or wrong. We are here to make a choice that I will be on the side of truth. I will think only the true thoughts. I would say only the true words, and I will only do the true actions. I hope this will satisfy your questions. I know it is not enough, but this is all I can help you, and I can encourage you and support you in this way. So let us stop now. And next week, we will have the last session on the way forward, because I would like to leave with how do we look forward beyond the course, because we just had only an 8-session, a very short introduction on Buddhist economics. There will be many ways that we can learn Buddhist economics, but to me, I think it comes out of practice. So let us not teach others, but practice ourselves in our daily lives, in our daily actions, in our daily words, and our daily thoughts. So thank you very much for your attention. So see you next week. Thank you.
See you, Sajid. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best. Thank you.
Yes.
Recording stopped.